right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the June edition of Insight Sessions. I am Jason Griffing. I'm the host, your host today and director of product at OneVision. And I am really excited for today's session. We are joined by Patrick Martinez. And Patrick is somebody I've known personally for over a decade in my travels in the industry. Patrick and I have had the opportunity to work together, and we've stayed close and collaborative over the years. Patrick is the founder of Elite Sales Academy. It's a sales coaching and training program for luxury contractors. He's got more than 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur, sales leader, and business coach, helping contractors increase revenue, improve closing ratios, and build scalable sales systems. So he's got a really practical, results-driven approach to help companies grow sales, improve profitability, and create exceptional client experiences in the luxury home services industry. Patrick, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Super excited. Super excited.
Yeah, this is going to be
it's
great.
Funny, I had to update that bio, right? Because it's now over 30 years, which is crazy. In June of '96, I started my first audio video integration company. And I was
Wow.
like, doing the math, and I was like, holy cow, that went by
Makes
fast.
you feel old, right?
Yes, very old.
Yeah.
Very old.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies. And we're lucky to have all of those years of experience here today to help share with us a lot of what you've learned along the way. I will share with you that when I worked with Patrick as a project manager.
Yep.
Patrick was selling projects, and I was a project manager on a lot of them. So I will share with the audience, Patrick's one of the most effective salespeople that I've ever been around. I learned a lot just watching him do his thing, and I learned a lot. I always learn a lot when I'm with Patrick. So we had some really strong interest in today's session. Lots of folks here with us today. We appreciate everyone joining us. Take a minute, if you would, to jump into the chat. Make sure you switch that little blue drop down there to everybody. Say hello. Let us know where you're joining the call from. And with that, we're going to jump into the agenda. Also, one quick thing I want to mention. If you have any questions, comments, feedback at all, and any of the things that we're sharing on today's webinar, please do feel free to drop those into the chat, and we will do our best to field those as they come in. Our main focuses today are going to be on number one, how to identify and qualify high-value prospects before they drain your time. So getting the tire kickers out of the sales process as quickly as you can so you can focus your limited time and energy on the right clients. Building a repeatable framework for closing proposals and handling hesitation without pressuring clients or appearing desperate. The 6 sales metrics that actually predict results. So really important to be able to measure. They say you can't manage what you don't measure. And so make sure you're measuring the right things. And then why most sales problems are process problems, not personality problems. So one of the things I've heard Patrick talk about before that I really like is that, sales is a system. And sometimes I feel like there's this misconception that you have to be a certain type of person to be effective at sales. But in reality, lots of different approaches and personalities can be successful in sales, provided that you have the right systems and processes in place. So I know, Patrick, you're very process oriented, and I look forward to jumping in and learning more about that today. So I was thinking about ways that we could start, and I think let's jump right into this qualified buyer blueprint that you guys have. Talk a little bit about the framework here and start with the problem. It might sound obvious, but I think it's worth being explicit about what is the real cost of a bad prospect to an integrator in terms of time, morale, money. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're looking at our agenda. I was like, man, this is gonna be a lot. So I envision a version 2.0 of this conversation for sure.
For sure.
We have a lot to cover. Qualified buyer blueprint is how we get our members and our clients dialed in on the right buyers. How does this show up as a negative? It results in lost deals. Whenever I talk to specialty contractors or any sort of contractor dealing in the luxury space, and they're not closing the stuff that they think they should be closing, we're always coming down to this. So it's like, oh, the symptom is I'm losing all these deals. And the reality is a lot of times they shouldn't be deals that you're trying to get. So we combat lost deals with a consistent closing model. And a part of that consistent closing model is qualified buyer blueprint. So qualified buyer blueprint is how we work with them to develop their ideal buyer. And it's based on past wins and losses. So we actually walk you through our framework, and we look at deals and people that were really great and people that were really terrible, and what do they have in common, and create, like qualifying criteria really, and kind of get that dialed in. Now, what does it cost you? Obviously, it costs you time chasing bad deals. Um, when you combine that with the fact that so many um, really smart people are giving away all of their intellectual property and all of their smarts for free, then it starts to cost you a lot of money. So it costs you money if you're your own time. It's costing you money if you're paying system designers to develop systems for the wrong people. It's costing you opportunity loss because you could be spending more time with better people. So it's like all over the place. It's a pretty fundamental
Yeah.
shift. It's a pretty big shift for a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
members.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tee up another question here for you, but I'm getting a little bit of I don't know if you have like a lapel mic or something that's maybe rubbing against a microphone. It sounded there was a bit of feedback coming through. So I don't know if you want to just make sure.
Yeah, no, it should be. How about now? Is that better?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, maybe there's a little air blowing on the mic or something
It
like that.
was, it was like a little bit of air. Yeah,
Yeah,
some of the systems, like the regular Zoom meetings, is really good about killing background noises, but sometimes on these I've had issues where it doesn't.
yeah,
It's good. So
yeah.
sorry about that.
Cool.
Yeah,
No, that sounds much better. So yeah, one question I did have is like, you and I both been in the business a long time, and like the reality is for a lot of integrators is like there's this constant pressure, right? You have to keep selling projects,
yeah,
and there's kind of balance that I think you have to find in terms of like you can live in this theoretical world where it's like, hey, we only focus on our ideal customer and that's
yeah,
it, and that's great if you can get there, and that's a great thing to
yeah.
strive for. How do you balance though that with the need to sometimes maybe be pragmatic and compromise, like in the real messy reality of like running an integration business and needing to drive sales? Like, where do you
Yeah.
put the importance of this having this theoretical perfect customer, and how does that play out like again in the really pragmatic real world sense?
Super great question. There's a lot to that. So first of all, I would, we go high level and go, don't be dependent on project work. Have recurring revenue, right? Which you guys are very familiar with. So that's the first underlying fix in most businesses. If you're only doing project work, your company is only as good as your last project and the pile of junk you have in your warehouse. That's the value of your company. So we got to watch out for that one. Secondarily, the I'm okay, just like I liken a lot to what we do to health. We put a big health component in our Elite Sales Academy. And so a lot of stuff I'll pull back to health, right? So I'm okay if you make the occasional bad choice in your diet, as long as you know what you're doing. So
Hmm.
many people like they just go after bad job without self-awareness. So I want you to have some self-awareness and go, yeah, I'm going to sit down and blow through a row of Oreos tonight. Fine, but you know what you're doing,
Yeah, you're not
uh,
doing it mindlessly.
yeah, you're not doing mindlessly, you're not doing it every single night. So that's kind of the adjustment there. And then it's eyes wide open with your team. If you're selling a job and you have a project management team, you have system designers, everybody knows going in, hey, this project doesn't meet our qualifying criteria. This client is not our ideal buyer, but here's why we're doing it and here's what
Hmm.
we're aware of. And you just go in eyes wide open, and that's a way different mindset than just taking every job you can because you got to make payroll. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great answer. What are some like practical tips that somebody on today's webinar could take away in terms of like maybe relatively simple or quick ways to start to filter out like who some of these tire kickers are
yeah,
early in the process? Like, are there certain types of questions you recommend asking? What kind of maybe unspoken hints are you looking for? Like, talk a little bit about some of the
yeah,
tells or ways that you might clue into that early that this
yeah.
is somebody you shouldn't invest a lot of time in.
Yeah, so our qualified buyer blueprint is about 7 steps or so. But I start with the first step. That's the first step that people on this call could do today, which is sit down with a pen and paper and like write down your absolute favorite clients. We all have them, right? Like the absolute favorite clients that we love and that love us and refer us and all that. And just make a list of them by name. And you get down to about, between 6 and 10 names on the list. And then the work begins. You get your team together that's worked with them. So it can't just be in your brain, but like who was a project manager, technician, designer, whoever was had interaction with them, and write down the traits that they all had in common. So you want to get down to between 4 and 7 traits that they all had in common. And it could be things like they love life, or they love travel, or they care about your team, or they're whatever, they're invested in your success, all that stuff, whatever it is. What do they have in common? And that's where we start with our qualifying criteria on those 4 to 7 traits. And that's a good framework to get started, where you can start looking at people around town and go, okay, does this person meet this? Does this person meet that? And then once you get that 4 to 7, you take the next step, if you have a little bit of energy left, is make your list of all your terrorist customers and measure up like how many of those traits did they have, right? So if you landed on 7 of our like golden traits, seven's a really good number, our 7 golden traits, and then these people are, difficult, how many of the 7 did they have? And usually you'll see it's like 2 to 3. So, and that's a
Hmm.
good, I just get your mind like shifted in terms of who you're pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you recommend an integrator does if they get, like I've done a little bit of sales in my career, and like there are times where you get on a call or a meeting, and like sometimes it happens very quickly, like 5 minutes into the meeting you're like,
Yeah.
this is not good. But let's
Yeah.
take a less
Yeah.
extreme example, like
Yeah.
like maybe you're a couple meetings in and you're just like just starting to feel that like this is not the right buyer, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
you are in a position as a company to say no to
Yeah.
work. Are there ways that you recommend integrators handle that, so that, because that can be hard, a lot of us are like leaders and business owners,
Yeah.
tend to be like people, right? Like they want to like
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
other people, make other people happy, and that can be
Yeah.
a uncomfortable
Yeah.
thing to approach. Are there ways that you recommend integrators handle that?
Yeah, even worse than people pleasing is we're problem solvers, right? We're technicians at heart, and we're always trying to solve problems. And the more challenging the problem, the more we dig in, and it's counterintuitive. So first things first, we're in a relationship business. So if you get in a situation where you have a bad prospect, um, the first thing is to take a step back and look at the relationship. Where did they come from? Who do they know? Who are they connected to? And sometimes I'll get questions like, oh, well, this was referred by a really great contractor that I want to keep happy, but these people are terrorists. What do I do? And then I recommend just open communication. Chances are the contractor knows they're terrorists. They know. So
Yeah.
give them a call and just say, hey, Mr. Bob the builder, your relationship with me is like super duper important. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to keep the Smith family happy. What do you
Hmm.
what do you want me to do? Is it okay if I refer them out? Do you have another name or somebody you could send them to? Something like that. And so just having that communication open. You mentioned, not to pick your words, Barbara. You mentioned like 2 or 3 meetings in. I don't want you going 2 or 3 meetings in with a
Yeah.
terrorist. You should be able
Okay.
to know
That's a
that right
good
away.
challenge. Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, because
So
usually I feel like you do actually know it sooner than
you
that.
know pretty quickly. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
pretty quickly. What I remember is
Yeah.
he was telling me a story, a few weeks ago, that he like the first call, he was just like, nah, no. And he's like, thank you for this,
Yeah.
because he's like, I would have gone out there and I would have wanted to solve their problem, and I would have had my designer put something together, and it's like I just was able to say no. Now, again, like you said, there's going to be people on this call where they're like, especially in this current weird market we're in, right? This is never a dull moment around here. We're like, I can't afford to give up any work. I'm starving here, and it's fine. I get it. I've been there. I went through, the tech bubble. I went through 9/11. I went through COVID. I've been through it all,
Hmm.
and obviously '08, and I made plenty of bad choices in my diet during those times. But I just want you guys to be aware of what you're doing. That's all.
Yeah.
So
I think that metaphor to like eating is a really good one, right? Like, if you're trying to watch your diet, one of the best things you can do is like they'll talk about like keeping a food journal. And
yeah, yeah,
why is that? Well, the reason is because by writing down what you're eating, you're forced to think about
yeah,
what you're eating and be more aware of it. And so
yeah,
it's not necessarily you have to like go keep a journal for this, but like that idea still applies of like, look, just be mindful about what you're doing, and have an ideal customer profile in mind. Be
yeah, for sure.
pragmatic, but like as your business continues to grow and you get more healthy, or the market turns around, having that ideal customer profile in mind
Yeah,
just helps like propel your momentum forward in the
yeah.
right times, and like attract those right clients to you.
And a lot of what we do is remove emotion from the sales process. Like that's what we do around here. We're sucking emotion out. If you have
Yep.
a measurement scale where, okay, when the market is really great, we're not going to take anybody with less than 5 of our 7 traits. that's totally fine. And then when the market's a little weird, oh, we maybe go down to 4 trades. But you have a measurement scale and you're not making emotional decisions. Emotional
Yeah,
decisions in sales is real bad. So
I like that.
yeah.
All right, well let's shift gears and talk about closing the deal. So you
Yeah.
guys have this confident close formula. As we jump into this, I'm going to launch a poll, and I'd love if everybody could take just a second to lean in and take a look at this poll and just answer. So when a prospect goes quiet after an initial meeting or a site visit, or you've sent them a proposal, what is your typical assumption in terms of why is that client going quiet? And Patrick, while we're waiting for people to bring their answers in here, I'd love if you could just riff on like the importance of closing and why is it in your opinion that clients actually go quiet?
Yeah. How do I get to see the poll?
I'll end the poll now. We got a bunch of results in
Okay. I'll host and
already.
post. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm
so
just
yeah,
curious.
I'm just sharing the results here. So it looks like about 60% of folks are assuming they're still just deciding. So
Okay,
comparing
good.
quotes.
Good.
Another second place was 20%. My follow-up process broke somewhere.
Good.
I'm not sure. I don't have visibility.
Good.
And
Yeah.
then they weren't a serious buyer to begin with. So those
Okay.
those were the options there. And yeah, I'd love to hear you just riff, like, because I
Yeah.
know I've heard you talk about this before, and
Yeah.
it's, not to lead people too much, but it's often not what people think it is.
Yeah. Most people think it's price. I was too expensive, and that's a bigger psychological challenge around all my technical salespeople. You know what? We do a lot of work with specialty contractors about us. Fivestone as a company, about half of our revenue comes from specialty contractors, other contractors, all that kinds of stuff. And about half our revenue comes from the manufacturing side. But the manufacturing side is all subject matter expert nerds also. Like I'm a nerd. I've been turning nerds into salespeople for 30 years, like starting with myself. So we often, as a group, us nerds, we shop with our own wallet. And we think that things are expensive when they are to us, but doesn't really matter to other people. So a lot of times people think that people go dark because of price. And so I liked your poll question there that it was a little more structured around steering people away from that. Yeah, still deciding is a big one. And most of the time, that's what it is. My wife used to always remind me that this stuff is way more important to me than it is to them.
Hmm.
Because I would be like fixated on stuff and like, why aren't they calling me back? Why aren't they getting back to me? And these people have exceptional lives. They're busy. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And if they're the right kind of buyers for you, you're not the most important thing they're doing right this second. They're doing other stuff. They have businesses, they travel, disappear for the summer with their teenagers, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I think that's a big part of it. They get busy. Another one we really, really focus on a lot is this concept of a confused mind says no. So many of you have created buying processes that are so complicated that people get confused. And so we spend a lot of time streamlining the buying process. We do a lot of budget selling. We get away from line item pricing. We really beat that into our members pretty hardcore. So we want to make the decision-making process really simple. So those are usually the two biggies. One, they're busy, and two, they're confused.
Yeah. Yeah. I got it. Augustine, I saw you put your hand up. If you wouldn't mind, maybe just throw your question in the chat, and we'd love to field it that way, if that works for you. Patrick, while we're waiting for that, so like, what's the takeaway from this? If you're looking at it, you're going, okay, maybe I am guilty of making this assumption that a client went quiet because my price was too high. And so that leads me down one path, and maybe I'm afraid to reach out. But if I reframe it and say, well, likely they're just busy, maybe confused, maybe overwhelmed. So they're just really they're not necessarily looking at it and saying the price is too high. They're just like deferring this decision because decisions are cognitively expensive, and they just like don't want to make the decision right now. So like, okay, now what? Like what does that tell me as a salesperson? What can I do with that insight?
Yeah. Well, chances are the symptom is they're going to go dark. And so what we have developed, we call it the ghost protocol. And what we do is for your movie buffs, you like that. But what we do is we're trying to shift gears. So many people go dark, and the salespeople continue to try to sell them when they're dark. Now they're dark for a reason. So we want to try to do is coax them out with this ghost protocol, which is kind of like coaxing the groundhog out. We don't want to scare it away. We don't want to make a sale. You're not going to make a sale via email. You're not going to make a sale based on a text message follow-up. You just want to restart the conversation. So we're just trying to like coax them out to then slowly find out what's going on. Are they getting other prices? Did their contractor not stand up for you because you weren't memorable enough? Did they get stuck somewhere else? Did they have a water pipe break in the basement and like
Yeah.
you've been moved down to the bottom of the pile? Whatever it is, we just want to coax them out, and that's so we have
Yeah.
like there's like a 4-step lead-in process to coax them out of their
Got it. And I would imagine like part of that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine it's partially like keep it short and sweet. Like you
it is.
don't like your follow-up email to a client who's already kind of overwhelmed shouldn't be 3 paragraphs
No,
long. It should probably, I would
shouldn't be
imagine.
needy, shouldn't be full of emotion, it shouldn't be just like, hey, are you still alive? That kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
we do an escalation where we start one way and we end with our coup d'etat, which is basically subject line, have you given up on this project?
Yeah. I've heard that one before, and I don't know if it was from you or someone else, but when I've done sales, I've found that also to be effective. It kind of start that follow up with lower pressure, and then you kind of gradually build up. Everything is short and sweet, but by the end, it's like, hey, did you give up on this?
Yeah,
And there's something like psychologically about that question that will seem to elicit a response from even the most quiet clients. So I
yeah,
think that's
for
a
sure.
good simple tip.
Yeah.
Cindy, there's a question in the chat here. I'm going to read it. I'm not 100% sure I follow. Maybe you can clarify. It says the buyout process for our type of systems is key. We can be pricing something out in the design phase, but our products, I think is what you meant to say, are not bought until we're further down the line, sometimes a year into the build. So what's your take on this? Okay, so I think this is kind of an operational, maybe cash flow question. I don't know if you have perspectives on this, Patrick. You're primarily focused on sales, obviously, but Cindy's bringing up a valid point. Like you're pricing things out, and then a lot on these bigger projects, maybe you're not purchasing the equipment
Yeah,
until like a
for sure.
year or more later. Maybe the client's needs have changed, maybe SKUs have changed. Like, are there ways in the sales process that you can help set the stage for this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think love the this concept because what it does is it cracks the door for budget allowances. And so I like using budget allowances in the proposals phase. And the great thing about budget allowances is um, you can always cheat them a little lower than the next guy, right? Like I learned that trick from someone you and I used to work with, who will remain nameless for this session. But the ye old TV budget allowance, right? Like
Yeah.
that these people are like 8K OLED buyers and the TV is probably going to be 5 grand. You know that in your heart of hearts, but they don't know that, and so like TV allowance is $1,900, and then kind of helps you manage those costs early on until we have to deal with them. And then, well, but then what if I can't get it? You can certainly get a nice TV for $1,900 if they want to do something really bitching.
Right.
Let them do it,
Right.
because I'm assuming that we're talking about not being able to fully design the system because it's so far in advance. That's one model. The other model is we go ahead and fully design in today's numbers, and you just have a conversation with the client about this is today's numbers. Some things are going to go up, some things are going to go down. You're going to change your mind on some things, and that's what it is. But we're really locking them in. The biggest thing you want to do is you just want them off the market. You want them
Yeah.
as your customer. And so whatever model is going to work for your business and your design department and how you guys do things and all that stuff is really just about getting them off the market.
Yeah. Yeah, our director of business development here, Brad Camp, another very effective
Yeah.
sales
Super
person.
amazing. Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he talks a lot about first who, then what, right? And so, like in the sales process, really a lot of times what we are doing when we're the buyer, even though we may not realize it, is like we're kind of deciding who we like, who we want to work with, who we trust
Yeah.
before we decide like, okay, I'm going to go with this product or that product. And so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that insight can really help you like
Yeah.
focus your efforts on
Totally.
building that rapport,
Yeah.
securing that relationship, and
Yeah. Totally.
things like allowances. I can see how that would play into it because
Yeah.
you're letting the buyer know like, hey, you're going to have some optionality here. We can figure that. Those are just details that we can figure
Yeah.
out later. Here's this
Yeah.
placeholder. So it
Yeah.
gives you some flexibility.
100%. And this leads right into another tool that we do, which I think would help Cindy in her questions, is the value line method. So, and this is a whole presentation we do in our sessions, but I'll keep it really short. So, Jason, here's the deal. There's two things that drive costs on these deals. There's scope of work and there's quality of product.
Mm-hmm.
We can move levers on either one of those. We try to keep you above the value line method, which is a nice balance between the scope of work and the product. Scope being like how many different rooms we're going to work in, how many different things we're
Right.
going to do, and product being like the level of performance of speakers or TVs or whatever. We can
Mm-hmm.
adjust all that stuff and we can hit any number you want to hit. Do you want to work with us? And
Yeah.
that's the decision. So do you like us? Do you like, our service model? Do you like our follow-up? Do you like our project management? Do you like all that? That's what really matters. The
Right.
system price does not really matter.
Yeah.
You have to decide if you want to work with us. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that goes in line with Brad's thing. And we take our members through this whole model that they can do for clients. And it's very effective. It's what I call like a little bit of a next level swagger move. You got to have some confidence and some swagger to pull it off, but it's very effective. I did it real time with a client last year and closed a $650,000 job that was getting all these other quotes. And we just
Yeah. Love
laid
that.
it out in a Loom meeting, a Loom video, just recorded in Loom, drawed it up, sent it off. 5 minutes later, they said, "Okay, you got the job.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
What are we
I
gonna do?"
think it goes to that, what that makes me think of is what you said earlier, which is like a confused mind says no. And this is kind of the opposite of that because you're putting this really simple framework around it that anybody can look at, busy, professional, tons of stuff going on. They
Yeah,
look at that, they go,
they get
ah,
it.
I get
Yeah,
it.
they
That
get
makes
it. Do I
total
want to
sense.
spend? Yeah, do I want to spend $100,000 on a pair of speakers, or do I want to do this? But you got to
Yeah.
have open communication. You got to be really. This was actually through a contractor too. So the contractor was the one kind of meddling. I think we've all been in that situation. They're
Yeah.
bringing in other people and do stuff. We just put it out to the contractors. Look, dude, like we've been doing this for a while now. It's a third revision. What do you want from us? We're
Mm-hmm.
rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic over
Yeah.
$1,000 here, $2,000 there, and the other bid was like 40 grand less on a. It was less than 5% or something, and
Mm-hmm.
so we're just. Do you want to work with us or not? This is why you would
Right.
work with us, and it was very effective. And we've had a lot of members that have been pulling that off, and then we use a verbal version of that for just objection management on, we talk a little bit of objections, but like, oh, this is so expensive. Totally understand. We always deploy empathy, right? Agree with them every time. Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, is this expensive? There's two things that drive costs, Jason: scope of work and quality of product. Which one do you want to cut?
Yeah.
And then you got to shut your mouth and let
Yeah.
them sit there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not want to cut anything.
That can be one of the hardest things to do,
It
right?
is, yeah, yeah, especially
Yeah.
especially for those of us at the technical persuasion. So,
Yeah. Follow-up question in the chat here. Is there a way to speed up the sale closing process? So this overall cycle from proposal to
yeah,
closing the deal, like there's a lot packed in there, right? But like if you had to
yeah,
look at that and you had to say, okay, there's maybe one, two, maybe three things that you really want to focus on to
yeah,
like shorten your sales cycle and get to a yes or a no, frankly, like even getting to a no faster
yeah,
can be valuable
yeah,
because you're not
yeah,
wasting as much time and energy
yes,
chasing. So like how do you
yeah.
get from what are the biggest levers that you can pull on in your opinion to get from proposal sent to decision made faster?
Qualifying first, right? Make sure we're pursuing the right people. Lots of good questions. So lots of discovery questions, uncovering needs, technical questions. We have all these different question buckets we work out of. And then the other one that's a huge lever is just, and I'm going to say this, which I'm sure it's going to elicit some response: prepaid design services. Stop engaging with people for months at a time and doing a bunch of free work for nothing. You're training them to abuse you. So get paid up front, get the people off the market, make them your customer right now. And then you're having a different conversation around what's going in the house, not whether or not you're going to be doing the work in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's stay on this prepaid design services, and I understand that this can be a hot button
Yeah.
for
I
you,
love
and
it.
this could be like a whole workshop unto
Yeah. Yeah.
itself, probably.
Yeah.
Uh, we did have a question from the audience come in ahead of time,
Cool.
which is from James Riley. He said, how do I proceed with a design fee on any level of project? He said, we want to be brought in earlier, like interior designers, and we want to get
Yeah.
paid for our design work. But other companies in his market don't charge for that. And he says they'll usually get passed over if they hold firm to that line. So how would you address James?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a lot to unpack. We actually are going to be doing a paid workshop on this topic where we're going to do several hours of like showing you how to build this out and actually get it done in your company. It's also a mindset adjustment. The biggest actually I'd say the biggest thing is it's a mindset adjustment. So many of us are so used to doing things for free and getting abused that we're like used to it and that we think that's just the way it works. Similar, like I think it was, this is going to date me a bit. I was at a CEDIA in 1998 and I went and did a class, and the class was basically like stop doing free service calls in a nutshell, right? And you're familiar with this, obviously.
Yeah.
And for us, it was a huge mindset. Like, it was like, oh no, if I don't do the free service calls, they're not going to like us anymore and they're going to go away.
Hmm.
And, you've heard these things now, 30 years later, you're still having these
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
So, the, so a lot of it is like mindset and how you do it. And there's a couple different ways to do prepaid design services. There's, different models that we coach and train on. But the first thing is mindset. The second thing is like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta go all in and not care what other people are doing. So many people get hung up on what their competitors are doing. If you're really unique in your market and you're really special and you're messaging it, it doesn't matter what other people do. And the third thing I would add is it takes time. I have a client who had a contractor that was like, we're never doing this. We get all the free bids we want, blah, blah, blah. And now it's taken that particular contractor, GC builder contractor, it's taken 3 years, but now that builder contractor refers everybody to this integrator and tells them upfront, this is how they work. They do
Hmm.
prepaid design services. So it took a long time and it was a mindset adjustment and education for the builder also. So it's not you get some quick wins right away, but it is going to take some time on some of your really entrenched builders. And they'll
Got
be
it.
burned enough, they'll work with knuckleheads enough, and they'll come back. But
Yeah.
it's got to be it's got to be
They got to
early.
go. They got to go touch the hot stove
Yeah,
once,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, they have to suffer, just suffer a little more. Uh, but yeah, so that there was something else early, just early. Like you have to also introduce it really, really early. I'm coaching a sales guy right now who has a deal where he's trying to put the genie back in the bottle. Like he started talking pricing and budgets and quotes and stuff, and then tried to introduce design services, and it's gotten messy. So I
Hmm.
told him that he can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's got to be like, hi, my name is Jason. This is how we work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder how much of this, I'd love to get your perspective on this. Like, how much of this comes down to helping the market understand what the downside is to not planning this kind of stuff early? Because, like, as an
Yeah.
integrator, I
Yeah.
saw it all the time where there was like so many problems that were created on projects that impacted the builder and the designer and the architect and the homeowner probably more than anyone that
Yeah.
could have been prevented had the technology been considered earlier in the
Yeah.
process. So I wonder how much of this is about like like your positioning and thinking about like the way that you present this and aiming squarely at like helping kind of educate your local market about
Yeah.
the benefits to doing this early or conversely the pain points associated with, waiting too long.
Yeah, a lot of it is that mindset, it's education, it's messaging, how are you going to message it? And then how much time do you get? Because a lot of times we don't get the time that we should get with buyers, right? Sometimes we're selling through multiple decision makers and trying to we don't even see the buyer for a little bit until they made a selection on who they're using, right? Then we might get called in for scope discussions and stuff.
Hmm.
So you're kind of educating the whole thing. I will say visuals are really powerful. So I'm
Yeah.
inside baseball. Jason and I worked in Los Angeles at an extremely high level. And at one point, we were working on a theater that was not designed properly, and none of the sight lines were going to be right. And they like had to kind of stop and demo what they'd done already. And so
Hmm.
there was a bobcat that you ride around on in the theater digging out the floor in a finished house because they had not planned it well. That image made us a lot of money. Like, here's a picture of a bobcat in your finished house basement because you didn't plan well. So
I love that. I
visuals
didn't
are
realize you captured that. That's funny. I
yeah.
remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that project, but
So visuals are very powerful thing, befores and afters. Also just, getting good photos of your projects. A lot of people don't do that. Discussions about people, quotes from designers and architects and builders about your your planning process, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got a different name, but your planning process. Quotes are really important, but it's an education process. And we've been in the education business for a long time, guys. We had to educate people on networks. We had to educate people on HDMI. We had to educate people now on lighting. Like, we're in the education business. Part of your education job, networks, part of your education job is now planning. So
Design. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk about another big bucket here is metrics.
yeah.
So I said it earlier, you can't manage what you don't measure. What are the common failure modes that you see from integrators when it comes to tracking metrics? What are the things that maybe they're overlooking that they should be paying more attention to, or maybe conversely, they're looking at things that don't deserve a lot of attention?
Yeah.
How do you help integrators think about tracking the metrics that actually matter?
That's a good question. I usually see two ends of the spectrum. I got guys that don't track anything, and those are usually, more visionary types, high salespeople, high expressives, low detail folks. And then I got people that over track everything, and they got like 50 metrics, and none of it really matters. So so we try to find a nice happy medium. So we look at, like 5 or 6 metrics that we want to track all the time. The other thing, so that's one mistake, is tracking too much or too little. Second mistake is uh, tracking revenue, and like nobody cares. I know it's important later, but from a sales standpoint, it doesn't matter. So we want to be looking at front end touches, leading indicators, not lagging indicator like a
Hmm.
revenue number. Leading indicators is we want to be doing non-sales touches. Our members are required to do 5 non-sales touches a day. What's a non-sales touch? What the hell is he talking about? That is a a outreach to somebody in your network that likes you, and it's not trying to sell them anything. It's just like, hey bro, thought about this, how you doing? Hey Jason, you guys got any plans for the summer? I was thinking about you today. Just a nice soft touch, could be text, email, social media, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a soft touch to get out there and see what's going on with their lives and keep making those connections and keeping top of mind. So 5
Kind of like
non-sales touches.
pop back up on the radar.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So COI meetings. A COI is a center of influence. So if you're an AV integrator, that's a interior designer, architect, contractor, real estate agent, or any number of 100 other influencers. We want you doing new COI meetings. We try to get our members to do 2 a week. So that's like a coffee date, a lunch date. You could meet them at an event, although it's on the edge because they're usually distracted with a lot of other stuff.
Hmm.
But we want to try to get a new COI meeting every week, 1 or 2 a week. And then, how many proposals are you shipping? How much dollar are you shipping? How many proposals are you closing, getting an approval on? So what's a closed deal is a signature and some money. That's how we count it. I got a signature, great, bring me the money. Or I got some money, great,
Hmm.
bring me a signature. So signature and money. And then our total network of COIs is another big number we track. So we want you to have 50. So that's 10 builders, 10 architects, 10 designers, 10 real estate agents, and 10 randos. And if you have 50 COIs in your little repertoire and your harem, if you will, you don't have to work for jerks anymore. You get to
Yeah.
work for people that you like to work for. So that's what we're trying to get you to, is that
I
stuff.
love that. Yeah, the focus there on like leading indicators of like if you're doing all these things, and then backing it up with quality work,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be harder to not be successful than it will be to
It is,
be
because business will
successful.
just come to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've heard the term clientele, right? Like, have clients and have clientele. Clientele is those influencers that are going to send you business, and
Yeah.
they're fighting for you in that they're going to be like, oh, you have this, they have a project. Oh, you gotta call Jason. He's my guy. Like, you gotta call
Hmm.
Jason. You're an idiot if you don't call Jason. That's a good referring
Yeah.
partner. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And how do you recommend like for somebody out there who's listening who's like, Patrick's right and I need to do more of this COI type of work,
Yeah.
but I'm starting from a low level. Like I have a
Yeah.
few, but I need more. Like what
Totally.
are some like ways that you can go about building that network?
Totally. Um, I if you would you let me put some can I put some on the screen real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let me do this, just because this is, I think, will be helpful to a lot of members. So all of y'all have what we call job one. You say like, I'm starting from zero. There's your job, job one. On that job, you're going to break out your set of plans, and there's a builder on that job. There's an architect on that job. There's a designer on that job. Maybe there's some lighting, some landscape, whatever it is. I could keep going, right? They
Yeah.
bought that house from someone, right? So there's a realtor on that job. And so you already have this job that already is like the you know, the center of all the action. Now, all of these folks, they got other jobs, right? This builder has probably got job two, it's probably got job three. And then on that job, there's probably another architect. And there's probably another designer on this job. Now, there's going to be some crossover for sure, because that's how the world works. But that's how this kind of starts. If you want to start somewhere, that's where it starts. This architect definitely got job 4 and 5. And you just got to get out there and
Hmm.
make some friends, because there's going to be another builder on that one. I'm running out of paper here, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we're trying to do, is get people to realize that it's in their, like, all you all sitting at your desk, turn over here, and there's a pile of plans on the floor. Pick up one of those plans, roll it out, and go through and find all the people that worked on that project.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, start small, start with your immediate circle and then just build out from
Just
there. And
build
don't
on it.
don't get like paralyzed by thinking that you have to go boil the ocean.
Yeah,
Just start small and get that flywheel moving. I think
yeah,
that's great
for sure.
advice.
For sure.
Um, we're kind of coming down the home stretch here. I had one
Yeah.
other question come in from the audience that I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure we touch on. This came in ahead of time, from Angie Hartman. And she
Okay.
said she'd really like to hear about overcoming objections and upselling. She described a situation where they had a client who was on a paid service membership, but it was kind of like the mid-tier membership, but the client was sort of always demanding service that was more in line with the high-tier membership. So basically wanting more than they're paying for. And even
Yeah.
though they were presenting the value and benefits, the client was just kind of pushing back on the dollar signs, and they eventually upgraded, but she described it as like pulling teeth. So
Yeah.
I know every objection is a little bit different and we don't have time to go through like a laundry list of them, but are there generalizable kind of principles that you could give people advice when it
Yeah.
comes to like clients are pushing back? How do I deal with it?
Yeah. That's a good question. There's a lot to unpack there. So I'll
For
do my
sure.
best. The first things first, not all objections are objections. Some of them are complaints. Wow, this TV is really expensive. Yeah, totally. Hear you. Uh, do you want it tomorrow or do you want it next month? Like, don't care, do
Yeah.
something else. So, or your labor costs are really high. Most of us will want to jump in and justify. And so what we want to do is deploy some empathy. I hear you, the labor's really high. You can ask a follow-up question. High compared to what? Like what you were expecting or some other pricing you got? Like, help me understand what you mean by my labor is high. Oh, well, whatever, and then whatever answer they have. Or you can just deploy empathy and go, yeah, I hear you. It's a lot of work. I hear you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. Um, am I contracting with you directly, or should I send my contract over to the
Hmm.
contractor and just move along? So many of
Yeah.
us as technical people, technical salespeople, we get sucked into everything. And this is especially true on my manufacturing clients. They'll get sucked into money objections all the time because one, we're predisposed to shop with our own wallets because we're knuckleheads. Two, we're predisposed to fix every problem. It's a bad combination for technical salespeople. We think things are expensive already, and then we want to solve the problem, and we get sucked in every single time. So we have what we call a model called "Don't take the bait," which is just don't take the bait. It's very simple.
Hmm.
It's most of them are complaints. Now, if it's an objection, legit objection that you have some control over and you want to do something about, then that's where we start to lean in about, do we need to reinforce our value proposition? Do we need to take another look at, are these the right people for us? Do we want to have business? Do we want to do business with them? Is there a substitution we can make? Can we work on some terms with them that make more sense? Like, we'll do this first and we'll do that later. Really try to like get in and solve the problem. And those are all fine. Um, you know, like John Bates is one of our members. He put that in the chat. Like, talk solutions, talk value proposition, reinforce what we're trying to do. That comes later after you really decide if this is something you even want to get involved with as far as
Hmm.
this object. Is this objection even worth your time, or is it just people complaining that it's raining? Like it's raining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
The other thing, in this particular instance, when she's talking about one plan versus another plan, so many engineer brains, we get a little bit stuck on our ego and our need to be right. And what do I mean by that in this case is our ego and our need to be right says that they're on this plan and this is what they're getting and they don't want to, blah 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 blah. And so what I like to lead with is sure. And what that looks like is, oh, sure, I hear you. Let's go ahead and move you to the next plan. And Brad is really good at this. Brad at OneVision is really good at that. It's just like agreeing with them. Oh, I hear you. Let's get you moved over here. It's going to cost this. It's going to
Hmm.
cost that. And you're always leading with sure and what you can do. Be an American, not an Americant. And then just like lead in with that. So yeah. Again, more
Love
swagger
that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that speaks to that, the confidence and right, like just
Yeah.
practice and reps and like
Practice and
getting
reps.
through
Yeah,
all of
for
this.
sure.
So,
For sure.
um, we're running out of time here. This is super fun, and I agree with what you
Yeah.
said at the beginning. We'll have to set up a time to do this
Yeah,
again.
for sure.
In the meantime, I'd love, Patrick, if you could share, if anyone's listening out there
Yep.
and wants to learn more. Maybe you alluded to your Elite Sales Academy a couple of times, and it
Yep.
sounds like there's a few folks on here that would really benefit from something like that. What do
Yeah.
you have to offer, and kind of what's the best way for people to learn more?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm looking through, I'm just blazing through this list to see if there's people I recognize. Obviously, John Bates, he's super fun and amazing, always makes our days bright. Also, Arthur is in one of our members in the member list. I feel like I'm Mr. Rogers' neighborhood looking through the thing. So a couple members here that you can contact. Um, I'll put this up on the screen here. So this is us. That's an email address. If you have questions, you can reach out to us. The left side QR code takes you to our main website, just all the stuff that we do. We do job profiling for salespeople. If you need to find your next sales superstar, we do sales playbooks, we do sales process, we do one-on-one engagements that are super deep and involved. And then on the right side is Elite Sales Academy, which is our Friday morning. So tomorrow, if you sign up today, you will be with us tomorrow in the group. And we're talking about being memorable. That's our series right now. We're in like a 6-part series on being more memorable. And so that's how you can sign up for Elite Sales Academy is on the right-hand side. And it's a great program. We have hundreds of hours of content. Every session we've ever done is recorded in HD, and you can go back and get it. We build custom GPTs for our members. We do custom tools for our members and checklists and all kinds of fun stuff. So, and it's good community because we always have um, open coaching at the end where we just have open Q&A challenges people are having and all that. And then if you're an owner manager, we do a monthly owner manager meetup, which is my favorite. They think I'm joking, but it's my favorite meeting of the month. Like all the meetings I do all month, that's my favorite one because we just get into owner stuff and challenges like that
Love
they're
it.
having. So yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Well, I have had the privilege of attending ESA as a guest before, and I will
Oh
say
yeah,
that you
that's
do a great
right.
job with it. And the one of above all, the thing that I came away from it was just feeling like you've got a great community there. Everybody seemed really engaged and connected, and I think there's so much value in that. In addition, of course, to the content that I know you put a lot of work into and everything. So,
Yeah,
really great offering there, and I would encourage anybody who's looking to elevate their sales game to go take a look at that. So,
yeah, for
with
sure.
that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's webinar. Patrick, thanks again for being here. This was a ton of
Yes,
fun.
super fun. We'll definitely have to do it again for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And everybody who attended with us live today, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to be here with us. With that, we'll go ahead and conclude. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and rest of your week, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.
Peace.